Wow, it looks like the short-term rental market in Phoenix, Arizona kind of fumbled over Super Bowl weekend. Get it? Fumbled? It's kind of a joke. Anyway, welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. Today is February the 16th. The month is more than half over. Can you believe it? This video is brought to you by our friends at Foreclosure.com. You want to check out the cool distressed properties that are discounted, your neck of the woods, your backyard, go to gethousingdata.com. That's gethousingdata.com. That's my affiliate link. You can check it out and actually see the stuff I'm talking about on these videos. Let's actually go into what happened over the weekend. So clearly, Airbnb and VRBO, which stands for Vacation Rental by Owner, managers were shocked that 50% of their homes stayed empty over Super Bowl weekend. So you know what? I actually would be kind of shocked too, because as far as I'm concerned, or what you hear every year, what does Super Bowl do to the host city? Brings in stars, brings in actors, brings in sports people, brings in money, lots of private airplanes at the airport. A lot of other events and things are going on, and sponsorships, parties, the whole bit during Super Bowl week, media, the whole thing. It attracts a lot of people, a lot of money. And, people, stay in hotels, but a lot of groups that come into town are staying for more than a couple of nights. They're going to rent a house, cool house, whatever. Well, looks like that wasn't really happening in Phoenix area. Here we got an article that says a manager of 95 Phoenix Airbnbs is stunned that half his homes were empty over the weekend. Basically, the hosts were expecting fully booked, obviously, Super Bowl weekend. This guy who's a manager of 95 properties said even on some of them, he reduced, bookings from $1,200 a night to $500 a night. Still didn't have any takers. And what we're seeing now is a glut in many U.S. locations of these short-term rental homes. And that shouldn't come as a surprise considering where we are with the housing market and what's gone on over the past couple of years. Again, they're talking about, he's cutting rates, it's still not booked. And again, depending on when, during the week these articles came out, 45%, occupancy, somewhere over 50, just over 50%, I think, at the end of the weekend. So, but the point is, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of availability happening, but not many takers out there with respect to who wants to book these properties. Now, the area, I guess you could say, the concern that people have is, I guess you could say, from a perspective of, usability here. So they're calling it Airbnb Bust, which is kind of funny. It looks like the data is suggesting that the number of Airbnbs in the U.S. has outpaced the increases in traveler demand. Some hosts are switching to medium or long-term rentals or prioritizing direct bookings. You can get this information from a site called AirDNA. You can subscribe to it. You can pay for reports if you're wanting to look at the Airbnb statistics. Basically, they're predicting that the revenue will drop slightly for hosts across the country in 2023 compared to previous years. So according to AirDNA, as of Thursday, only 52% of available Phoenix rentals were booked. The site found that two recent Super Bowl host cities, LA and Miami, had over 80% of their available short-term rentals booked for their game weekends. So really, that's why the New York Times is calling Phoenix's Super Bowl a fumble with respect to what's going on with attendance and all the economy happening down there. Again, going back to Airbnb Bust, essentially. But the interesting thing is the last paragraph here is that AirDNA found that from February 2017 to January 2023, Airbnb and VRBO listings in Phoenix more than quadrupled, growing to 21,000 listings compared to 5,000. So a request for comment has not returned, obviously, from Airbnb. But the point you have here is really an oversaturation of market. That's indicative to where we are in the sort of housing, we'll call it boom, bust, crash, crisis, whatever. So, the euphoria of, buying a property and this potential of making all this money certainly is attractive to people when the market is rising. So people actually look and make more purchases when the market's going up because of FOMO, fear of missing out. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity to gain appreciation, to resell the property, to get this great cash flow, to run these cool Airbnbs, the whole bit. That's kind of the thing to do. Well, then of course there's the downside, right? Now, a lot of people I know, what they do is they purchase these properties, they purchase them at a premium, and obviously, they're, who knows what kind of loans they're taking out for these properties. If they're investor type loans, they're putting more money down, and there's more risk in the game for them, and then they're basing a lot of their business models on X number of days, per month of usage or bookings, and obviously they're looking at things like Super Bowl as being like a kicker. So because I've seen it happen here in Tampa a few years ago, and we had our most recent Super Bowl here, is that people just bought homes for the purposes of renting them out during the Super Bowl, and making X number of dollars per week or per night or whatever. So that's what goes on. When people are starting to look at these short-term rentals, and you get suckered in by the attraction of this quick money. And by the way, folks, if you enjoy the information I provide, if you could hit that subscribe button, help my channel grow, I'd really appreciate that. And if you are a subscriber, if you could resubscribe, because I lose subscribers every day for some unknown reason. So thank you very much. All right, so continuing the discussion here. So for me, this is indicative of where the market is. What I mean by that is, just before markets change and crash, you have this euphoria of buying and I'm going to make all this money, etc. And then the realization comes in like, oh crap, it didn't pan out the way I thought. Now what am I going to do? Well, if I couldn't book 50% of them couldn't be booked for the most, the number one, event or sporting event in the country. What does that mean for the rest of the year? My bookings are going to go down. Well, if you're gone from 5,000 short-term rentals to 21,000 in a couple of years, in 3 or 4 years, clearly there's more choice out there for people. So therefore, on average, your bookings will go down. So if the U.S. travel has reduced a little bit, or the need to travel is reduced, or the lack of interest in bookings and a huge oversupply from when it started, then you're going to see a change in the marketplace. So is this an Airbnb bust? Maybe it is. Does this bode well for future Airbnb hosts? Not necessarily, but you can see that unless you've got some unique properties and have really good strategies in how you price and how you market, there could be some carnage along the way. I do believe that in any real estate correction market or cycle, it's really this is kind of like the I call it what the low hanging fruit. These are the things that get wiped out first. So people go, you know what? This is investment property. I don't want to put my money into it. I'm going to either get rid of it, I'll sell it at a discount, or I'll stop paying my mortgage and I'll just take my losses afterwards. So this is where we see changes in the marketplace. Usually it's on the investment side. When a market changes, that's the first stuff to go, and then it usually is people that maybe overindulged or overpurchased, or their business plan didn't quite make sense, but they bought it anyway, and now this is the first casualties of a change in market. So ultimately, if you take a look at again, they're talking about these vacancies are really not because of maybe lack of travelers per se, but in influx of inventory for short-term rentals. So again, in November 2022, Time reported, also using DNA data, that the number of available short-term rental listings in America shot up 23.2% in September 2022, up a year ago to 1.38 million. So ultimately, it doesn't matter if you're an Airbnb host or a long-term landlord, vacancy is not a good thing for real estate investors, especially in a time of rising mortgage rates. So yes, you got a lot of things going against you. You've got, if you have variable rate, and a lot of these, investor loans, like I know you're thinking, well, fixed term loans, etc., but a lot of the investor loans require more money down. And a lot of people do can pick adjustable rates or variable rate mortgages, so they could be affected much more heavily by the the overall 7, 8, 9 months worth of increase in mortgage rates. The Fed raising the rates, of course, and mortgage rates responding accordingly. So these landlords could be or hosts could be affected by that, and so you get a lot of things going. You got higher interest rates, maybe lower demand. And the demand could be based on either, or the demand that you're seeing is, again, oversupply of similar product, being other rentals you could jump into, and or people going, I don't have disposable income. We have increase of job losses. We have certain, we're in a recession, whether, we're admitting it or not, we're a recession there. Everything's more expensive. Your gas is expensive, your food's expensive. So what do people do when the times of economic distress? They hunker down and they cut out luxuries, and going on vacations and trips is a luxury item, I guess you could say, and you'll pull back and play board games at home or do local trips as opposed to traveling and spending money on hospitality, travel expenses, accommodation, etc. So that's typically what happens. Again, when the markets change, these short-term rentals, to me, unless they're in desirable locations, that really draw people normally during the year anyway. It's certain ones will, if they're not kind of in those areas or have that draw, they're going to be casualties when markets change a little faster, a little quicker, and we start to lose more market share, and we lose more revenue and more property value. That'll happen, and a lot of these Airbnb hosts will be crying the blues. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. So anyway, guys, that's kind of scoop for today. What are we looking forward to this year in distressed property opportunities? We're looking at for more foreclosure auctions and therefore more real estate owned REOs available. A lot more short sales will be coming on. I can't even tell you. I've been so busy the past 2.5 weeks. It's been ridiculous trying to catch up. We're grabbing lots of properties now. So I can tell you that things are changing. Why? Because I'm actually out in the field doing the business, getting our hands on deals, stuff like this. So yes, more short sales, short payoffs as well. A lot of talk about taking the property subject to the mortgage. That's a different way of sort of using someone's mortgage and keeping it in place. There's a little bit of finesse that goes on that. We're going to see more homeowners associations, more condo association foreclosures going on, a lot more probate and estate foreclosures. And as a result of all these things that will happen, also tax deeds as well too. We'll see a lot of more tax foreclosures going on. We have what we call a foreclosure surplus or overage. That's another niche that we can participate in to get money as well to income. So that's the stuff that's happening in the world. Got to keep that in mind here. We're open for business. What I mean by that is I've increased my staffing and my support, so I can handle a lot more things now with a lot of the agents that I've hired. So we need help with new home construction here in the area. We can take care of that for you. Existing MLS properties, just buying you a normal home. Investment properties, certainly. I'm seeing more of those come across my desk every day. Cash flow styles, Airbnb styles, fix and flip, single family, multifamily as well too. Build to rent, build to flip, buy and sell opportunities or development opportunities I'm involved in. Also, we have access to financing, lenders, hard money, etc. So we're a full service kind of investment firm here. That was my goal to build that. So we're kind of there now. Also do a lot of education. So if you want to participate heavily in this next change, hit me up. We can talk about my new program, Foreclosure Fortunes. All right, guys. Once again, thank you for the views, likes, and comments. Please share the video with your family and friends. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I look forward to speaking with you in a couple of days. See ya.